Florida's governor is urging people to continue coming to the Broward Islands like Anna Maria after Hurricane Helene, to not even cancel their plans if they have a vacation rental. Of course, he's trying to save the state's economy, but let me save you some heartache and pain by letting you know that the aftermath of a hurricane is the last place that you want to spend your vacation. Now, I don't know what type of oxymoron decides that they want to go on vacation to Florida to be in the aftermath of a hurricane, but the issue stems from the fact that vacation rentals are a very profitable business. Now, the governor of Florida doesn't live in Tallahassee. It's most likely the governor of Florida lives on a barrier island within the vicinity here. It literally just took me 3.5 hours to drive from Lakewood Ranch to Anna Maria Island and back because of the amount of traffic and congestion. And it hasn't even started yet. We're in the infancy of the rebuilding process. When you start talking about all these houses that have to have all the drywall knocked out, all the insulation put in, all of the painting redone, all of the garbage hauled off the island, it's going to become a complete nightmare to be in Bradenton and Sarasota during the aftermath cleanup efforts of this hurricane. Why on earth would you want to be stuck in the congestion and madness of hurricane aftermath cleanup? It's absolutely abnormal to think that you should suggest to people to continue coming down here to support these businesses and, most importantly, the vacation rentals. I would love to find out who owns the majority of these vacation rentals on Anna Maria Island. That it garnishes the governor's attention that people should continue to pile into vacation rentals before the remodels are complete. Yeah, the governor's just saying, hey, it's fine. Just pack these vacation rentals. It doesn't matter. Just get out here and get into these vacation rentals. Let me explain to you guys a few things about what has to happen now and the safety concerns and just logistics of aftermath hurricane cleanup. Step 1 is removing the sand off the roads. That's already taking place. Step 2 is getting all of the furniture off the island. All of the things that were destroyed in the storm surge have to be taken somewhere. Now, in the case of Anna Maria Island and all these barrier islands in question here, where they're telling people to continue coming to the vacation rentals, there's nowhere to put this garbage, which means that all of the public parks and open areas are going to become storing areas for garbage or transit points. The streets are far too narrow to accommodate all these dump trucks and garbage and equipment. Thus, places like the beach parking spots are most likely going to become areas of transit or transport for garbage, for equipment, basically all of the hauling services that are going to have to take place on the island. Now, the first thing that has to happen eventually is they have to decide where all of this garbage is going to go. There are no landfills anywhere near these barrier islands. All the garbage has to go through the city of Bradenton and through the city of Sarasota. In fact, one of the only reasonable options would be to haul the garbage off very late at night so that it doesn't get involved with daytime commuters, because then it's almost impossible the amount of volume of garbage that has to be transited out of these barrier islands. But the real question arises, where's this garbage going to go, first of all? There is a landfill in Lakewood Ranch off of 64 off of Lena Road, but can that landfill accommodate all the garbage from the barrier islands? The logistics of getting all this garbage off these islands could also be part of the fact there is a port in Tampa, and if you could bring barges into the area, you could put the garbage directly in the barges and then take it to the port to be put on larger ships. But I'm sure the logistics of figuring that out isn't going to happen within 30 days. But regardless, all of the garbage from the furniture has to be taken off the island. Then all of the drywall and insulation has to be ripped out, and that creates a lot of garbage as well. It also creates a lot of dust, irritating dust. Even if everybody got to work right away, it would take months before you could get all the furniture, all the garbage, and of course all of the insulation drywall removed and replaced, which means that almost the entire season time, the island will be nothing more than a giant construction site. But the absolute worst part of it is that there's only a few entry points to the island. In fact, there's only 3 bridges taking off these barrier islands, one towards Sarasota and 2 bridges in Bradenton. Between the Bradenton Bridge and the St. Armand's Bridge leading off to downtown Sarasota is a 16-mile stretch that takes about 30 minutes with no traffic congestion. Why on earth would you, as a tourist, put yourself in the aftermath cleanup efforts of a hurricane? Sarasota and Bradenton are going to have a lot going on in season time. Already, traffic congestion in these metropolitan areas is unbelievable during the winter time. It usually takes me and my wife almost an hour and 20 minutes to get each way just to get to the beach. Now, add on top of that all of the workers, equipment, and I have to get on and off the island by driving through Bradenton or Sarasota. And this winter time, the congestion will be some of the most unbearable you will ever see. Already today, the snowbirds are not back, and it took me 45 minutes to drive from Bradenton to West Bradenton. Literally, Highway 70 in Lakewood Ranch came to a complete standstill today in the afternoon, heading eastbound, something that I have never seen happen in the 2 years that I've lived here. Imagine now when all these trucks and equipment start moving, when everybody starts to remodel their houses, and on top of that, you're encouraging the snowbirds and tourists to continue to come to Florida. It's going to be a nightmare. If you are a tourist and you actually believe that it's going to be fine for you to come to Florida's West Coast during this hurricane cleanup effort, you're going to have the most disappointing vacation of a lifetime. Not only is the traffic congestion going to be completely unbearable, but the people are in a really bad negative mood. You come to Florida to get around people and good vibes. People who lost everything are not in a good vibe. I'm not saying you shouldn't come to Florida. The Panhandle beaches are still open, available, and they didn't have any destruction. And of course, Florida's entire East Coast hasn't had any troubles. There's a lot of options within the state of Florida. But to tell people that they need to come back to Anna Maria Island and not cancel their vacation rentals, that seems a little fishy. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the state of Florida, people involved in politics all have properties here. We recently saw the Lee County Sheriff, who's being investigated by the FBI allegedly. Well, he recently bought an apartment in downtown Sarasota. And if you go on the property appraiser and you look up the governor's last name, there are people with his last name that own properties on these barrier islands outside of Sarasota and Bradenton. In other words, Florida's politicians who are telling you to come back also own real estate in this area, so it would be conclusive that the reason they want people to continue to pour money into this area is because it hurts their pockets personally. But I would definitely not recommend coming to a hurricane aftermath for a few reasons. The first is what I've mentioned already. The congestion madness of cleanup efforts is not where you want to spend your vacation. And next is safety concerns. Now, of course, the government's going to be dismissive about safety concerns because all they care about is your tax dollars. If you've been watching my YouTube channel, I've thoroughly explained to you how the state of Florida gives no craps about people. The only thing that matters here in the state of Florida is dollars. And if your safety gets in the way of those dollars, you're going to have a Ford Pinto on your hands. Sure, there's a deadly defect here, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is dollars. In the case of the state of Florida, they don't seem to give a crap about anything other than dollars. Now, we've seen Florida put the tourism industry ahead of the people of Florida for decades now, but I think this is the first time that the state of Florida puts the tourism industry ahead of tourists themselves. The logical assumption is that these areas need, well, a little bit of space and time to clean up. The not so logical thing to do is to shut down, slow down businesses. And I understand getting the ball rolling, getting things back as soon as possible. After all, the reason I pay so much money to live in this metropolitan area is to have access to the same exact things we're talking about. Restaurants and beaches. I pay a lot of money to live in this metropolitan area. If anybody wants to see things go back to normal, it is me myself. I make money and I pay to live in this area. I can understand the necessity of things going back to normal. But would I recommend to people to come right now and continue to stay in these vacation rentals? I don't think so. For one, there's a safety concern. If you guys don't know this, salt water is corrosive. And if you have 4 feet of salt water inside of your house... Now, this is the first time that these barrier islands have this type of storm surge, and a lot of these houses are old Florida cottages or older houses they're not up to recent building codes, and it would make a logical assumption that the moment you start to turn the power back on and connect things to the electricity, appliances that were flooded, whatever the circumstances may be, you're going to have a lot of structural fires on these islands. And on top of that now, the popularity of electric vehicles, most of these golf carts on the island are electric. There's a lot of dangers with just turning the power back on, not going through the drywall process, just turning the power back on and being like, all right, here we go, power's back on. Let's just stuff people into these vacation rentals. It's a tragedy or several waiting to happen. But again, in the state of Florida, safety doesn't matter. If you guys remember, I was in a walker for about 6 months. I almost became permanently disabled. In fact, I don't think my life is ever going to be the same. I got hurt in a hotel on the beach in Florida. And because of the governor's new laws, despite the fact I got hurt at a luxury hotel on the beach, had to have a $100,000 surgery, I wasn't able to sue the hotel that injured me and receive compensation because of the governor's new laws about suing people in the state of Florida. Now imagine if I myself ended up getting hurt in a hotel in Florida, literally almost got paralyzed for the rest of my life, wasn't able to get any compensation. If there's somebody you should listen to when it comes to this topic, it's somebody who is in their 30s and is now practically going to live in pain for the rest of their lives, get no compensation. The state of Florida is making laws that are making it impossible for you to sue somebody when you get hurt at a tourist destination like a hotel, like a vacation rental. If you get hurt, the industries that are involved in tourism in Florida are making laws that ensure that when they hurt you, they are not liable. You cannot sue them. If anything, at least it happened to me, a YouTuber with voice who can warn other people about the things that are happening in Florida, so people know that if you come to Florida and you get hurt, the laws in the state of Florida are being written by the individuals that are hurting you neglectfully, because the people in power are making laws to protect the interests of tourism industries, not you, the tourist. When you come to Florida and you go to a hotel and you get hurt, you're not going to be able to sue them. The state of Florida has become, from a litigation perspective, completely rigged by these industries to protect their industries. The legislation that's taking place now in the state of Florida ensures that you, the person being hurt, has almost no chance of having a lawyer stand up and take your case because the time frames don't add up. You need more time to resolve these cases. In the state of Florida, the governor's laws are dictating a time frame to reach a settlement that is unrealistic. The companies are stretching out these time frames. They're not answering phone calls. They're not answering emails. They're dragging it out to ensure that you run out of time and are not able to sue them. The last thing that I thought when I went to a hotel on the beach in Florida is that I would be getting hurt. And not only that I would be getting hurt, but that the lawyers would tell me that with the new laws, it's too confusing. It's too hard to understand. It's very unclear language. We don't understand these things yet. And most likely, lawyers don't want to take these cases. I dedicated an entire year of my life to trying to resolve this issue. I hope that if you come to Florida, you don't get hurt. But the truth is that right now, the state of Florida is making it to where it's completely reckless. The only thing they care about is packing tourists into the state. They don't care about the ecological damage it may have on the state. They don't care if people are getting hurt in the process. They've already got that whole thing rigged up. And honestly, they don't even care about the tourist experience as well, because anybody who lives in Florida will tell you that the 6 months to a year after a hurricane is absolutely one of the most miserable times you're ever going to live in your entire lifetime. And why would you come here to experience that freaking nightmare? And again, I'm not saying don't come to Florida. I'm saying, why would you choose to vacation in a place that's just got hit by a hurricane? The entire east coast of Florida is available, and there you're not going to deal with the same aggravations. But overall, the state of Florida for tourism is becoming a scary place. We've seen a lot of laws come into the state of Florida that are making tourists worry. SB 1718, a lot of people that were coming from Latin America and vacationing in Florida stopped coming here because despite the fact they're tourists, people are treating them like illegal immigrants, and the people are not going to come here to be disrespected. I can't sit here and lie to you and tell you that you should come here because I think it's going to benefit me. I'm going to be honest and tell you that probably this year isn't the year to be in this metropolitan area. Now, it does come down to this. The beaches are beautiful. I was just on Siesta Key like 3 days after the hurricane, and the water looked beautiful. My wife actually walked in and swam for a little bit. Florida is the warmest state over here, and people are going to come to Florida. But if you're going to come to Florida, come to a part of Florida you're actually going to be able to enjoy. And I made a video saying that Sarasota is the best place to vacation in Florida because of its beaches. And if you can find a hotel further inland and the beaches are open, that may still be true. But the people vacationing on the island, getting a vacation rental right on these barrier islands, it's going to be a nightmare. If you can get a vacation rental like in Sarasota or somewhere in West Bradenton, I don't know, somewhere that hasn't been destroyed by this hurricane, it may be enjoyable. But you're going to deal with considerably more congestion. And without the hurricane cleanup, the congestion's already bad enough. So, I mean, it's going to be worse. So, that's the reality of this situation right now in Southwest Florida. Unfortunately, I wouldn't recommend traveling here. But I understand when it gets cold up north, people are going to have no other option but to get out of the snow and cold. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm actually looking forward to you guys coming back. I mean it. I really do. I enjoy the wintertime vibes more than the summertime vibes.